Well, I had an early case where I had a case where a woman came to me and she told me that she had been raped when she was 13. She was a young Black woman. She had been raped by a man in the neighborhood, and she didn't. Her parents were afraid. Her parents they had just been there a brief time from the South. They were very distrustful of authorities, um, and they didn't tell anyone about it. Actually, her aunt had been raped in Arkansas or something by the chief of police when she went to report a burglary. So they didn't tell anyone about it, but the daughter was the woman who was my client, Vanessa. Um, she was sent to back to her where they had lived in, I think it was Arkansas.
Mhm.
To stay with her grandparents until she gave birth, and the plan was to just have the baby adopted. The grandparents decided to keep the child as a little girl.
Mhm.
12 years later, the grandmother that was a great grandmother, got very sick, and the great father, well, I guess it was Vanessa's grandfather, couldn't take care of both the child, who was then 12, and his wife. And so the child ended up coming back to Vanessa's home with her, where she lived with her parents. So this was 12 years after, so she was a young woman, and the rapist saw them on the street.
Oh,
And she had decided that her parents thought maybe we should say that this is like a niece or something, but she thought that that was not the fair thing to do. And so she was acknowledging that it was her child. And the rapist saw the child on the street. She was 12 years old. She was starting to be mature, look mature as a woman. And he filed for custody
oh
and
no.
for his custody rights. And his story was that, they had sex and he didn't know she was pregnant, and now he did know, and he wanted his father's rights, which the judge thought was completely appropriate. Um,
Appropriate.
yeah. And
Oh, just to clarify for everyone, so he raped a minor, got her pregnant, saw the child who was born from that rape of a child, and he filed for custody of the child who was born of
yes,
rape.
he wanted to get a
And the
12-year-old child in his custody, similar to the mother when she was 13. In fact, the child was almost 13. It was
Mhm.
sort of yes, that was his plan. And the judge didn't really, when I tried to, the first question I asked the rapist was something about, did he know how old that my client was when he raped her? And the judge freaked out at that. Said, there's no proof of that. Did you ever, there's no charges. I pointed out that it was, that the child was, that she had been 13, so it was statutory rape. But, and he was threatening to hold me in contempt, which I sort of contemplated might be a good thing, for various reasons, it could publicize it or whatever. But
Mhm.
anyway, I had to do a lot of things in the court. I had to basically threaten him with let him clearly know that I was going to appeal his ruling.
The judge.
And yes, and that I had to make a good record. So I had to say rape. So we ended up with a compromise that I could describe the act, but not call it by rape. But I made it clear that I was going to appeal. And judges do not like to be appealed. I have found with other family law attorneys that they're very afraid to appeal. They don't appeal. I mean, in criminal cases, it's sort of an automatic thing. Everybody appeals. But in family court, it's like you're going to be dealing with the same judges, and they think that they're going to alienate the judges. But I have an opposite opinion. You scare the judges, and you want them to be scared of you. You want them to know that you are not going to back down, and that they may be embarrassed by being overturned, and that
That's
you're
right.
going to make as much stink about it as you can. And that's what got me to win the case. I mean, so he ended up giving her, and still he couldn't back down enough to not give him anything. He gave him 1 hour a week, but with her pastor, um, supervised by the pastor. So he never bothered to do that. So that,
The rapist never went to
yeah,
do
he wasn't
1 hour
interested in
supervised.
supervise of any kind of, yeah, he wasn't, that was not his interest.